Look at here. It's 12:49 a.m. At this point, you've got drunk Josh. So
That's fine with me.
I'm just a disclaimer. You've got drunk Josh. That's what you've got.
Do I have to sign a release?
I haven't been drinking a large quantity, a large volume of liquor, but it's been over now 3 hours. So I'm drunk Josh. Just FYI. And you should probably leave that disclaimer in for everyone listening. I want to be very clear.
To the show.
Nothing that I say in episode 57, nothing I say I can be held accountable for. This is not. Yeah.
Congratulations. That is the official intro to the show.
You've got drunk Josh.
So welcome everyone to Drunk Josh and That Kind of Nerds podcast, a weekly show where we break down what's going on in the nerdy world. This week, we've got some fun stuff to talk, including, for some of you Android people, the Google I.O. conference. We're actually going to talk about that. Some Cape news as well, wrapping up with a little bit of a ranker post here about a sci-fi movie, so I'm excited to bring it to you guys. The other thing I'm excited to bring you to is the wonderful people of Loot Crate. Oh, yes, it's the shameless plug time, guys. Loot Crate is a monthly subscription service where they send you a box stuffed to the gills with licensed gear for geeks and gamers all alike, including things from Marvel and DC. And this month in May with Dragon Ball Z, we have a special offer for you, the listeners. Yes, you, the guy at the traffic light. That wasn't Josh or me in the last episode, which I was really bummed about. We have a special offer for you. Just go to thatkindofnerd.com/loot, LOOT, and there's a coupon code there to get some money off your own Loot Crate. So go check it out. thatkindofnerd.com/loot, LOOT. Anyway. So let's just get cracking. Let's start talking about things, and let's talk about Google I/O. So if you don't know what Google I/O is, guys, it is the big developer conference that Google has to talk about, what's coming down their pipeline, what they're working on, what things are coming out.
It's Google's version of WWDC, which is superior.
Yes, this year was a couple great things were talked about. I'm only really going to talk about three of them, the three big takeaways. And that's two applications, one of them called Allo and Duo.
Hello, governor.
Allo, or is it... Wait, I heard like Megamind, like Olo. Was it that?
No, it was Allo. Every podcast this week covering technology has at least one bad British accent in it.
Do you have to say it like that? Hello.
Hello, governor.
Hello, everyone.
We're not allowed to poke too much fun at Google for making it Allo because there's Siri, which gets pronounced as Surrey, which is also not that. So just they're allowed one. Duo, and then one really cool thing that I want to talk about is instant applications. So I want to talk a little bit about Allo. Because it's a pretty cool messaging app that has a Google Assistant built into it. So if you're one of those, I don't want Google to know everything about me, you're going to hate this thing. But
so if you're CJ,
as you start, right, pretty much, as you start,
or Snowden.
Snowden actually did say that he hates this app. What's really great about this is that it is some things that are built into it. So first off, during contacts, when people are texting you ideas for, hey, let's go out for dinner tonight. Okay, what do you want? You can type in sushi, and it finds sushi restaurants.
Nobody asked me to go to dinner, CJ.
Book the table. I know one asked you, Brian, but you know what? People want to know where the nearest Apple store for you is after breakfast. So this way, you can type that in, and you can see what time they're open till, and you can get that started.
Listen, I don't need to find a breakfast restaurant near me. I hope everybody's good with either Diner Food or IHOP, because that's where we'll be.
But it's got some smart assistant features built into it to help you with that. The other really cool thing that is it has some not canned replies, but replies to pictures, which I thought was really awesome, as well as text messages. So if someone sends you a picture of a dog, you have options to say, that's a cute dog, or other things as well.
If I send a dank meme, is there a response for that?
I'm sure they'll get something in there eventually.
Brian, your memes are so dank.
I know, right?
Now, Josh has actually been using the Gboard on iOS, the Google keyboard.
Yep.
And you love the fact that Google is kind of built into that. So when you're looking for a GIF or something, it's just, right there. You can send it in and out.
A recommend from John Yearsley. And I think it was worded something like, why don't you try something cool for once instead of just always using Apple everything? Check out Gboard. And I immediately downloaded it, installed it. I used it for about 5 minutes before uninstalling every keyboard and making Gboard the default. So not only the ability to, everybody can relate to this. You're texting or you're like on a, responding to something on Facebook or Twitter or wherever, and you need to quick grab a photo, right? So what you do, or a dank meme or a GIF. So what you do is you have to exit the app and go to Google and look it up and all that other. In Gboard, all you do is click the Google symbol and you bring down all the content you want right in the app. It's insane. And now, it hasn't crashed, not once.
And now Allo has a kind of built into the text messaging application. It's a text messaging application based off your application, based off your phone number and not your Gmail account. So you don't have to be a Gmail person to use this. You can have iOS or Android or iOS or Android, and it works off your phone number. And then it has this contextually based stuff in there. So when Brian says, hey, we want to go see this movie, I can say, yes, let's go see this movie. Here's the theater. We'll buy the tickets, all without leaving the text messaging application. It's really cool. It's coming out in the summer. It's got some work to do. But here's the question, knowing that, especially you, Josh, if it isn't a blue text message bubble, you're not interacting with it. Is this something you would try out? Is this something that you would look into to get that quick based contextual answers and Google interface built into that?
Yeah, I don't have anything against the app itself, the way it works. I just wonder, is it just going to be another Facebook Messenger? You know what I mean? Like, is it just that extra thing?
Facebook Messenger has a lot of people. I know you may not think of it, but
it's not texting.
True. Yeah.
So
right, yes.
I guess what I'm getting at is, as a communication vehicle, we already have a lot of stuff that works. Whether it's Facebook Messenger or whether it's Twitter DMs or whatever it is, we have a lot of different ways outside of texting to do that. I'm worried that this is Google Plus for messaging.
But this is the thing, though. Again, it uses your phone number, so this is not something that is a lengthy sign-up process. Use your phone number. Good.
If it integrates seamlessly with SMS, then I think we're fine. We're still talking about green bubbles, though, CJ. I'm still not.
I mean, they're blue. And
these won't be blue.
Well, in the app itself, you'll see blue.
Right, but I don't.
I know I get what you're saying.
Right. Will it integrate with your regular text messaging?
That will remain to be seen.
What I'm saying is, if you're in this app, instead of being in the app, could it just send you SMS to text instead of the app?
We don't know. It doesn't look like it, but we'll have to see more when it comes out this summer.
Then I won't likely use it.
The one thing that I don't like about this, I do and I don't. So the Google machine obviously is learning how you would reply to pictures of a dog or questions of, would you like to go see this movie?
Pictures
or
of
cats.
No, not or cats.
Just cats.
Just cats. Pictures of cats. Not pictures of dogs.
Okay. So when Brian texts me a picture of a cat, it would start to learn how it would reply to him. And then it would probably recommend questioning the ratio at his house to make sure everything's okay.
I don't know if it could learn. Learning is much easier in groups, and there are not groups of cats at Brian's palatial estate. The ratio of cats to males is very low.
But it would probably give me that as a reply, and I think it may be smart enough to see that.
Wait, Brian is thoroughly exasperated. He's just cracking up, and I'm not. I think Brian is approaching can't even right now.
I can't even.
I know this isn't Brian's cup of tea either, so that's why he's been very quiet for this. But listen, it seems really cool. It also has an incognito chat, which is end-to-end encrypted.
CJ,
hearing about.
Will respond in a Bane voice for me? Will I be able to use Allo to respond in your Bane voice?
Wait, does Allo break bats?
I would hope so, because I am a huge fan of things that break bats. If Allo will break bats, I will use it all the time.
But it looks really cool. The only thing that I don't like is sometimes, though, when someone sends you a picture of a dog or a baby or whatever, having a canned reply
cats
to what you would be saying, cats
CJ,
or a baby.
No one cares about babies. It's all about cats and breaking of bats.
I just don't want it to have
Stop
the appearance.
Using theatricality and deception. It does not work on me, for I have been initiated.
Okay.
You merely adopted the cats, CJ.
There's no need to.
I was born into cats, molded by them.
No pain.
I didn't know what a dog was until I was a man.
Okay, Dane. Oh, man. I don't want this app to give people, and this is the only downside I see to it, is that people who have the appearance of giving a shit about their picture of cats or babies, instead of actually looking at the cat and baby and saying it's cute. Other than that, it looks really great. It's going to come out in the summer. I'm really excited for it. It looks pretty cool. Here's the other one, iOS, Android compatible. It's called Duo. Duo is essentially a FaceTime, Skype replacement. Is a video conferencing application. However, it's incredibly smart. So it's smart in switching on and off of Wi-Fi or LTE cellular connection. So you actually get the best image quality. It's very quick and responsive from all the hands-on videos that I've seen, even in terrible situations. The video doesn't buffer or cut out or get very pixelated. But the really cool thing, it has a feature called Knock Knock. And what Knock Knock is, when you have it installed on the device, before you answer the video call, you, on the other side, the person calling, your video is available to them. So you can actually make it a more engaging reason to call. They're bringing up with this. If you ever Skype or FaceTime with somebody, you just get the notification FaceTime, and you don't know what kind of situation you're coming into. Is it a happy occasion, sad occasion, someone with a large group of people? What is it? You answer a blind call.
Is it maybe a whole lot of hope on the other end?
It could be a whole lot of hope. This has a way to preview what you're getting into.
I looked at Allo. I looked at Duo. Duo looks like the video call within Facebook. It looks, CJ. This looks like
I'm not again. On the surface,
it just smacks of Facebook Messenger and video. So
the behind the scenes stuff is pretty interesting.
I'm sure it is. Google's super smart, but this idea is not original. I've
never said it was.
No, I'm not saying you did.
I know. What
I'm saying is, I don't think people will adopt another thing to take over the thing they're already using. Case in point, my sister-in-law, brother-in-law, Android people. Obviously, my family, Apple people. My wife can't FaceTime with her sister, so they use the Facebook video call, and I get to talk to my nephew all the time via video call in a way that wouldn't be available to me for anyone who isn't an Apple user, if not for Facebook. Google they're just copying that. So if it makes it easier for Android users to natively video call, FaceTime users, then I'm all for it. I just don't think it's something that will be widely accepted anywhere other than Android users. And that is in juxtaposition to Google's entire philosophy. They don't want to be the Android people. They want to be
everybody.
Yeah, they want to be the thing that connects you, and this isn't that. It doesn't bridge the gap enough. It doesn't give you anything better than Facebook already has. They were first to market, so it's gonna be better. If this is great for Android users, that's fantastic. But you can't get Apple users, you can't get iOS people to install this app and make it a regular part of their day unless it does something way better than what they already have.
And that's the thing. I agree with you too, Josh. This is a great thing for a lot of Android people, and I think it's something that they'll use peer to peer. But going outside of that ecosystem, I don't think the rest of the world's going to adopt it. It's great technology, and I'm sure Apple will steal it later and make it native for them. But
Apple has it. They have FaceTime.
Right, but the peeking part, before you answer it, they'll take that.
They'll figure that out.
They'll figure that out.
It's a collect call. It's a collect call from it's
right. You know what? That's very true. It's exactly what it is.
Who's calling? It's Bob Weata Baby Eats a Boy.
Yes.
So It's that. I get it. It's just not. We're not there yet. I don't. And I think that you're right. Apple probably steals the preview. I want a reason. I'm begging Google to give me a reason to buy an Android device. SIM swappable Android. I just want a reason to buy one, and everything they're serving up is just a copy of something else. I'm not saying they're copying Apple. I'm saying in this case, Facebook, and it's not a good enough reason. I'm begging to use the technology.
I agree. After I watched the whole keynote of Google I/O, the whole damn thing. So you didn't have to, people. You should write me a letter for thank you. There was nothing in there that made me want to go out and actually go buy an Android device. There was nothing in there that made me so excited to do it. This is great if you already have the platform.
Yes.
You're going to love this stuff. It's going to be great. There is one thing, the only thing that I know that Apple can't turn around and do right away, so this is going to take a long time for them, is something called Android Instant Apps. Now, to be fair, if you're an Android user, you can't use this either anyway. This is a little too far into the future. They didn't even say the summer. They just said soon. Android Instant Apps is great. If someone sends you a link, so they did this thing with a camera bag for someone going on a trip. When you click the link, and let's say BHM has an app that you can load up, and it goes into the Play Store and grabs just that part, just that bag and the checkout process for the app. So without having to download the application, you get the bag itself, the reviews, and the checkout process using like Android Pay without ever downloading the application. Same thing for if you're ever in a situation where you go to somewhere and you need their app, but you don't want to spend the time and the effort to download the full thing, you can just grab what you need right through it. So it's like deep linking to the exact section that you need. It's going to save a lot of people's hardware for having to download shit, and it's going to make things a lot quicker.
This is incredibly interesting to me for this reason. I'm a commuter by profession, basically. So I get into a lot of situations where I need an app or access to an app, or I need to execute something via app. I'll give you a few examples. Parking in big cities. If you rent a car and you're driving around, you need to park. Most of these parking garages, parking places now are all using apps. I don't want to have to download the full app. So my question to you, CJ, is in a situation like mine, where maybe I need to take a train or the ferry into New York and I don't have the app on my phone, can I click some sort of link that will allow me partial usage that will do enough to where I can use my Google Pay, my cards that are registered, pay for, all these transaction type things?
Yes, the actual answer is yes. They actually demoed this off where there was a parking meter. You come up to the NFC, it taps it. It runs through the Instant app and says, how long do you want to be here? 40 minutes. 40 minutes is this amount of money. Press Android Pay and you've paid. In and out.
That's phenomenal. That's a game changer.
That is. And they're still working on it. So it's not finished, but
it's almost like a website linked to another, you know what I mean? Where you get all the data. I think it's brilliant. And I just had this situation in Austin last night where I could have quickly accessed this app without standing in line, but standing in line takes as much time as downloading and registering, doing all the
all of that stuff. All of that stuff is bypassed. It's not necessary. It makes it a lot quicker. It's literally for those use cases, Josh, as well as a few others.
And it's called
Instant Apps. And Android Instant Apps. It's exclusive to Android N.
Only available on Android OS.
Yes.
I have to get an Android phone.
So there you go. There's your reason for kind of.
Well, let's see how it works first. But
yeah,
they gotta complete, and they're opening up the APIs and everything to other developers. So if you make an app where this is something beneficial, so if you make a parking app, a travel app, loyalty app, whatever, you can tap into this.
Oh, that's great! I can use it for the parking in front of my palatial estate.
let me just obviously, in the job that I have, you get a stipend for your mobile phone. This is the reason I would open like an AT&T account,
right,
and just use this.
This to me was considered the best of show. Strip away Allo, strip away Duo, Instant Apps. And like I said, this is something Apple can't copy overnight. This will take them a year to figure out, just because the way their architecture
is. It's brilliant. But they started doing that with Safari, right? Where you can on the 6S Plus with the 3D touch,
the peek and pop.
You can peek and pop. So when you peek on something though, you get that interaction. This is next level of that, and you're absolutely right. Apple doesn't have anything anywhere close to this. So it's intriguing to say the least. I may if I don't stop feeling this way in 4 hours, I'm gonna have to go to the ER.
Here's the other cool part: the demo that they did after they ran it and showed off the Instant app, it was running on a phone that was running KitKat. You do not need the latest version of Android in order to use this feature.
Awesome.
KitKat.
It's awesome.
It's running this. So this is a game changer. That Instant apps is the technology that people are talking about, although they're talking about the apps. But this is the one that's going to change the way that Android users use their phone, because just like you said, Josh, every now and then there's just an app that you just need one function of it, and you don't need the entire thing. The amount of time it takes for you to get the whole app, this is what's cutting it down. So
Brian is super leaned back in his chair.
He's just like,
can't even, because he's just like, you know what? iOS does everything I need it to do. I can't possibly even think about expanding. There's just no way. I can't
travel.
do it.
I don't need to do any of
that.
You
can't even. Brian can't even.
So let's talk about some things that Brian can do, and let's talk a little bit about Warner Brothers. So, Brian, you have a better handle on this story than I do. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what's happening in the wake of Batman vs Superman?
No, I do. Okay, so here's what's happening. So Warner Brothers has decided that they need, and it's very probably unfair of me to compare it to this way, but this is the only way I can compare it. They need a Kevin Feige for their DC superhero cinematic universe. They need one guy to spearhead the entire thing, to have their hands in everything. And it can't be the director. It's got to be somebody who is well-versed in the universe and can make out a plan for their cinematic universe.
What makes Kevin Feige important?
He is the producer of every single Marvel movie since Iron Man.
He's the president. He's the Marvel
Studios president. Marvel Studios president.
I'm asking what about him makes the Marvel Cinematic Universe special?
Everything, when we're talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and what makes them special, is it all comes down to Kevin Feige. Everything that they do goes through Kevin Feige first before it even gets to print, gets to film, gets to anything. So he approves.
For instance, he fought real hard for the budget for Civil War.
He fought real hard for the budget on Civil War. He approves all the scripts. He approves the direction that the movies are taking. And he, if they're like, hey, we want to, dress Spider-Man up in nude spandex, we're going to change the costume so that it's all clear stocking. He's the guy who says, absolutely not, you can't do that. So he's the guy that everything goes through, and really kind of the helm and the captain of the ship when it comes to Marvel Studios.
And most of this is coming due to some of the fallout of Batman versus Superman.
It's in fact what I was going to say next before CJ cut me off. So Warner Brothers, in the wake of Batman v Superman, and listen, Batman v Superman did not perform poorly by any means necessary.
$868 million.
It's at $868 million as of today. Speculation is it's not going to go much higher, if it goes higher at all.
Sure.
But
that's still
$868 million. That's not chump change.
That's not chump change. That's a well-performing movie, but it was critically bashed on several fronts from fans and critics. And in the response to that, Warner Brothers has decided, okay, we are going to appoint a head or two of just our DC superhero cinematic universe. And they have named Geoff Johns and Jon Berg as co-runners of the DC films moving forward. So,
and
here's what's and what?
And what do you think?
And I think it's probably the best call that they could have made. So I don't have very much experience with Jon Berg and who he is, but I can tell you from experience who Geoff Johns is. Geoff Johns is a comic book writer for the DC universe, probably has written some of the most successful stories in the DC comic books over the past 10 years. And the cool thing about the way Geoff Johns approaches his storytelling is that it's very continuity based. It's very true to the characters and makes things that maybe happened in the past to the character. He brings some of those things to the forefront, makes them make sense, and makes it enjoyable. So I'm completely on board with this. I'm extremely happy with the fact that we finally have two guys now who are going to have everything run through them, who are familiar with the characters and know, certain things that you can and can't do with these characters. I think that's a good call. And I mean, being as they're only one movie in, I think this could definitely turn things around for the critical view of what DC movies are.
Just a little history, right? So Geoff Johns, dude's not much older than I am. He's like 43 years old and was the chief creative officer of DC Comics.
Yeah, and actually still is.
Right. So, but was named that something like 6 years ago, 2010. And this guy is deeply ingrained in the DC universe. He understands what's important. And I'm not sure the movies are that far off of the true DC vision anyway. But I think that the storyline could definitely use some direction. And Brian, could this be more perfect?
No, this is absolutely perfect. Having somebody in general just to be able to streamline this story and streamline these multiple movies in one universe is great. And if you're going to choose anybody, choose the guy who's been in charge of their comic books for the past 6 years, who's been in charge of major reboots like the New 52, and who has had experience in telling excellent stories, critically acclaimed stories of these characters. I think it's an absolute amazing call, and I'm looking forward to what the future holds for DC.
I'm really excited too that I trust Ben Affleck implicitly with what he wants to do with Batman. Whatever the guy wants to do, go for it.
Here's the best part about that: he's co-writing that script.
He's co-writing and directing. So I'm very excited to see what comes out.
No, I'm sorry. Geoff Johns is co-writing it with him.
Yes.
That's what I was saying.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So having someone already in, so this is the other part too. We can see some change happen with his interaction. But this isn't something we're going to have to wait 9 movies to see.
And not just the change in the interaction, but having a comic book writer, not a screenplay writer, a comic book writer write for the big screen is a huge advantage. And again, I haven't seen Batman versus Superman because of all of this. It's just too much drama, and I'm done with it. So I love Man of Steel, and I believe that storyline fits with what Geoff Johns is going to want to do. So this is incredibly exciting because it's not just about make a movie, right? It's about make a comic book on screen.
Right. And that's something that I think DC is in a unique position to do, especially with this team up. So very excited to see this. Yay, I'm very excited for DC to happen and to wow me and to win me. You said
something nice about DC.
I said something nice, Laura. Are you happy? I've done it. And now that's exceeded my annual quota. So just don't prepare for it. I'm just kidding. So I want to move on to something else that's more comic book themed related too. According to sources at moviecreedlive.com, take that what you will, okay? But it's been reported through other websites now too. Marvel and Netflix are finishing planning or discussions for the series of Blade, Ghost Rider, and Brian got a little squeamish when I said this.
Ghost Rider starring Aaron Paul.
I hope it's starring Aaron Paul. He's on Hulu right now. We got to see. Moon Knight coming up in through the ranks too. This is great. This is what we want to see. This is, again, a continuation of a couple characters that I think lend themselves better to a longer series than just a movie. Brian, when I list off those names, 2 of them are really easy to recognize, Blade and Ghost Rider. Moon Knight, I know you were excited, but I know the general population doesn't really know. Who the hell is this guy?
The old too. It's like in the 70s. right, Brian?
Not anymore.
No, I'm saying the public, like he started.
Yeah, he started in like late 70s.
Okay.
Maybe early 80s. I mean, to be honest with you, the best description I can give you for him is he's kind of a Marvel version of Batman. What's really interesting about Moon Knight, though, is that he is not just, I'm avenging something or I'm looking for justice for something. He worships this ancient god named Khonshu, and he actually has split personalities, which I think is going to be really cool in a Netflix series to kind of explore that. He has at least 3 different personalities that I can think of off the top of my head. And him wrestling with those demons while fighting crime is extremely interesting to me.
Should be really awesome, especially when you consider they're going to have to tell it from a human viewpoint. That's what all of the Netflix stories have done so far. So they make them real people, where Moon Knight in the books was not. You couldn't envision him as a real person.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no Bruce Wayne to him is kind of what I mean.
There's not a lot of, I mean, his alter ego being Mark Spector.
Right.
You don't spend a whole lot of time with him.
And that's what's going to make the Netflix show so great, is that they're going to have that alter ego, because there's no other way to set him up unless you introduce him only in another series.
My first interaction with Moon Knight was, I think, Maximum Carnage on the Sega Genesis, and the screen would go black and he would come through. That used to scare the crap out of me, because of just, this guy seems so powerful. Everything's dark.
Wait,
and then
you're thinking of Cloak.
Too. Well, I was thinking of Cloak. You're right.
Moon Knight's not in the Maximum Carnage game.
Moon Knight was in a couple other Spider-Man adventures that
he's known to team up with Spider-Man. In fact, in the comic books,
you're right. The Cloak.
In the comic books, he actually has 3 different personalities that he talks to. One is based off of Spider-Man, one based off of Captain America, and one based off of Wolverine. I'm not even joking. That's so awesome. Comic
but
book
listen,
canon.
here's the real question is, because of those connections, and because Netflix has already mentioned the incident and, in other series, could this be like an overture trying to connect the two?
God, I hope so.
Oh, right?
Yeah. I really just want these Netflix shows to cross over with the movies in some way, even in some minuscule, minor way, in the worst possible way. I want it more than I want less cats in my apartment.
But the ratio is already so low.
It's already so low. That's how he just wants it to be non-existent, in the sense of that there'll be so much crossover.
I want it to be infinitesimal.
Invert the ratio and make that a Netflix to MCU ratio.
Yeah, I want that ratio to be high as possible. So yeah, I mean, I hope so. I don't know how likely that is. But I think Marvel has built such a great TV universe and movie universe at this point that they really should just cross them over and make one giant powerhouse universe to rule them all. That's my opinion.
So the next topic that I have here that's still in our cape and comic book related line is AMC has greenlit a documentary series exploring the rich history of comic books. It's entitled Heroes and Villains, The History of Comic Books. It is 6 one-hour episodes. Actually, looks like it's being produced by Robert Kirkman and a couple other people from The Walking Dead. And this is something that I am really, really interested to see what exactly they're going to cover, and how much crossover you get between Marvel, DC, and the other third-party publishing powerhouses out there.
It's a giant comic book documentary. How can it not be awesome?
I mean,
I hear you.
I've watched plenty of comic book documentaries. I think having 6 hours of it would be awesome. But I mean, really, because there's things that they gloss over in those hour-and-a-half history documentaries that they don't get to go into a whole lot of detail with. Like, they usually really gloss over the early 40s and 50s comic books and the golden age, and immediately jump into the 60s stuff, because that's where all the characters we know came from. I'm interested to see more detail about that.
And what's great too is that they're not just going to focus on the characters. So we're not just getting
about the publishing.
Right, and it's about the people too, the people that have made these books. So names that Brian and other people have lined up to see at cons.
Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, Jack Kirby, Bob Kane, Bill Finger, Bill Everett, all sorts of these people who you don't know, but I do because I'm me. I
knew like 3 of those, so I feel good about myself now.
I named what?
I said I knew 3 of those names, so I feel like I've raised
good about yourself. But people who have been extremely influential in this medium, and here's the thing: it's that, to be honest with you, until recently, that this medium was almost kind of a joke, and these people were looked at as, they're writing kids' books. They're not for adults, and the exact opposite is true. Some of the themes in some of those, even those 60s and 70s books, are extremely serious and extremely adult, and it's nice to see these people getting their due. That's all I'll have to say.
Nice. So it's supposed to air sometime in 2017. We don't have a whole lot of firm dates, but you know as soon as we know something, we're definitely going to be sharing it on the podcast and on Twitter and on the website. So keep your eyes open for that. I'm really excited to see what AMC can cook up because they've done a great job with The Walking Dead and Robert Kirkman's involved. So I'm on board for that to make that happen. Moving now into movies, but away from comic books and moving into this, there is, with an $80 million budget, apparently a Tetris movie on the way. Now, I have no idea.
It's like 90 minutes of the Russian music.
I have no idea what
Listen, Tetris doesn't have a story. There's a GameCube game that tried to make a story about it, that there were like some alien blocks from some planet or something like that. I just skipped right past that because all I want to do is
I would rather see how it was like behind the scenes story, like the story of Tetris as like the Russian math game that then ensued Americans.
What this might lead to? This might lead to a new shared universe where Tetris meet the Emoji Movie, because there's 2 movies that nobody cares about.
$80 million.
I mean, give me $80 million. I'll take a bunch of blocks. I'll just throw them across the street.
The producers of this movie are calling it a quote, an epic sci-fi thriller, which is going to be a installment of a trilogy of all things.
I'm just imagining them doing some sort of like crazy Starship Troopers movie that has nothing to do with anything Tetris and just naming it Tetris.
Tetris is about stacking blocks and clearing lines. How could this possibly be a movie?
I don't understand it. It makes no sense. Makes no sense, and I will keep my money on this one. Thank you.
The Tetris movie will not be, quote, all that you think it will be. It will be a cool surprise. Like,
is it just going to be dudes sitting around playing Tetris? Because that's not a cool surprise.
Did anybody... No, you know what it is? Is they're trying to break into a bank, and the only way that you can get through the security is a level of Tetris. No one asked for this movie. Please, take $80 million and go build some wells in places that need water. Don't waste your time with this. Is there a movie that you would rather see with $80 million instead of Tetris?
Contra.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay. That was easy.
Galaga. That man is playing Galaga. Just wanted you all to know. I can't believe that someone would green like that. But hey, apparently if you have $80 million to blow, it's worth it. So during my trolls of the interwebs, I found a ranker list, that's ranker.com, of plot holes that will ruin your favorite sci-fi movies. Now, I will note that some of these are not my favorite sci-fi movies, nor was it ruined just because of a plot hole. Some of them had other big things. Like the first one is, how do aliens from Signs deal with our planet? Knowing that they, hate water, but yet, they come to a planet that's covered with, 90% of it. That one's really not on my list. There are so many other things wrong with this list here. But Back to the Future, this is the one that I'm a little perplexed about, is that Marty's parents don't apparently recognize him at all. His mom had a traumatic night. He spends a lot of time with them, sleeps in their house. I mean, I remember someone who hung out at my house for 4 days during like a sleepover. I can imagine like
I mean, let's face it, you remember exactly how much coffee was left in this mug when I started recording.
Don't give me that. Even you would remember the people that you like that hung out and slept and ate Tostino's pizza rolls at your house.
I mean, okay, I'm not defending. I mean, listen, Back to the Future is one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm never going to say anything bad about it. But yeah, I mean, it's filled with plot holes. There's all sorts of different, and that's the problem with time travel movies in general, is that it's filled with plot holes. Obviously, I don't know, I don't understand how Marty's mom can throw herself at a person and then not recognize that her son kind of looks like the person she tried to sleep with. I don't know. I'm just going to go along for the ride and kind of skip over it because Back to the Future is amazing in so many other ways.
My other one here right now at the time of the publishing is number 4 is that apparently it is easier to train drillers than it is to train someone to be an astronaut. Apparently, even Ben Affleck pointed that out. That listen, I don't know why you would spend this much time teaching someone to be an astronaut. It's much easier to teach someone to drill. Which they actually bring up in the movie. It's just funny because some of these are just like, listen, guys, even from me, I'm saying, okay, that's a little like it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah,
like, it just doesn't matter. Just calm yourself down and go enjoy your movie. I would suggest it, and I'll put the link in the show notes. I suggest you guys just peruse this. It's good for a chuckle here and there to be like, well, never even thought about that, or okay, well, that's not that big of a deal in this grand scheme of things. So I thought it was interesting. I thought I would at least bring it up to kind of give someone to chuckle at, maybe lighten someone else's day.
Isn't just hearing our wonderful voices lightening somebody's day? I know that and the sound of my voice brings joy to everybody that hears it.
Super soothing.
It's very soothing. I mean, really. Josh, I want you to sit back and relax just a little bit. And
that's what I'll do.
Take close your eyes and imagine a happy place.
I want to tease something for next week because it's not on this week's agenda and I didn't give them enough time to really look at it. But I do want to say we're going to talk about Star Trek, the series, the new series, had a logo tease in their first look this week as well. So next week we're going to watch that. We're going to talk a little bit about that. It's on CBS. And, I think it's for something to replace Supergirl.
It's not airing on CBS.
I thought it was on CBS.
The premiere, okay, last thing I read, and maybe things have changed. The last thing I read is that the premiere episode will be on CBS, but it's going to be exclusively through CBS's video on demand app.
Oh, I have that. CBS on demand.
So that's where you're going to watch the new episodes. And don't take a swipe at Supergirl until you finish the damn series.
I told you I had enough the nice things to say about.
I don't care.
I said to replace. Now think about this though. What I meant by it was CBS is losing Supergirl, something to keep the nerds
really
besides the Big Bang Theory on there.
All right.
I understand what you're saying. I'm
going to finish this right now because CBS partially owns CW.
Right.
They're not losing anything. They're just moving it to the network that it should have been on in the first place because it makes sense.
People are going to watch the network for anything but the Big Bang Theory. The people that were watching it watched Supergirl and the Big Bang, and then by happenstance watched other advertisements.
You also realize that Supergirl did not air after the Big Bang Theory except for the first episode.
I know.
Okay.
I know. I'm just
saying. I just want to point out that you're wrong. I enjoy doing it. It's my favorite pastime next to playing.
I found your son.
Huh?
No, never mind.
Okay.
Well, everybody, that's the nerd wrap up for the week. That's the nerding news. I do want to thank everybody for listening, and I also want to give an apology to Craig Newcomb. He actually came on the show to talk about Game of Thrones, but unfortunately we had lost the audio. So our apologies to him, but we will be back next week to talk about Game of Thrones and some of the big stuff that went down in the last episode. You can also give us a call at 484-373-4119 for all your nerdy news and all your nerdy insights, as well as if you want to share your reactions to Game of Thrones. You can also get us at Twitter at That Kind of Nerd, Facebook at facebook.com/That Kind of Nerd, and everywhere else you can find us. We are That Kind of Nerd on Instagram. I mean, that's our handle. We are That Kind of Nerd. We're not that kind of nerd. That was taken. If you know the guy who has it, let's get it back. So thank you so much for making us your walk around the neighborhood or your drive to work, and we will see you guys next week. So there's no Stinger this week. Sorry, I will owe you one. Yeah. Okay, bye.